Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Film Discussion. I'm John Ward, and I'm here with my co-host.
John Wills. How's it going, bud?
I'm good. How are you?
Living the dream.
All right. Are we here? I'm ready for this. This is the video I have been waiting for. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm born ready for this.
All right. So I am ready to destroy these movies. So for various reasons, but I'll start off like we have with. It seems like everything that each trilogy I own less of, like as far as movies or product or whatever it is. So on this one, it's pretty basic. It's the Blu-ray DVD digital Star Wars Force Awakens DVD. I'm sorry, Blu-ray, and which looks and sounds great. You know, it's got its slip jacket here and all that, so it's got a different cover on it. And same back is the same, and it's got all of its stuff inside here, so which is nice. And then got the Last Jedi. Same idea. And
Your favorite movie?
Yeah, my favorite movie. Yeah. So this one only has the two discs in it. And for the last one, Rise of Skywalker. And it's only got the two. So the first one, they actually give you a digital copy on disc. So it's DVD, Blu-ray, and a digital disc. And then these, they just give you like a digital code, and that's it. So along with the other two. No, in fact, so this is Blu-ray. Hold on 1 second before we hop into your stuff. So this is a bonus disc. So this is just Blu-ray and then the bonus disc.
Yeah.
So it's not even DVD. And then so I'm guessing Blu-ray and digital. So it probably just does it because I think I bought this brand new. I wonder why it doesn't have its code in it. But yeah, then movie bonus disc. So let me just double check. So Blu-ray plus DVD plus digital HD. So what's over here? Nothing. So this disc is Blu-ray, bonus disc, DVD. So, okay.
There's a fun fact, actually. For a while there, especially with Disney, they were releasing it with just Blu-ray and not the DVDs for a little while there, and then they kind of went back to just including the DVD in with the case.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
strange time.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's what I got. That's the only stuff I will ever own from this trilogy. What about you? Where are you at?
I'm not gonna stall on them, so I got the same things as you.
Hey, hey.
And the only other thing I got is, regardless of how much you hate this trilogy, we gotta love BB-8.
Oh, I like BB-8. I do. Each film actually has its own thing that I like. So Force Awakens has BB-8, and then Last Jedi has like the little rabbit things that are kind of throughout the whole movie, like they're with Chewie, the really cute things, and they travel with him in the Falcon. And then Rise of Skywalker has, what does it have?
Dio? Is it the little cone head guy?
Well, he's cute. I thought there was something in this because I remember watching Rise of Skywalker going, oh, each film kind of has like its little thing that I like. Maybe it was, oh no. It has the little cone robot is cute, but it has the guy that does the memory thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the guy who's like, who's in that one scene, and then he's later on with them with the absolutely useless character, I guess, that's from the books or the comic books. That's that gives the Poe the coin. So she and I'm blanking on her name, but I guess that she's a fan favorite in either the books or the comics or something like that.
Yeah. To be quite honest, this is where I checked out of the EU.
Yeah.
When they started making that everything from 2013 on, I didn't even get those. I tried a couple of books. As a matter of fact, hold on, I do have.
And I see you have the Star Wars movies displayed in the background there for people to.
I don't know if you can see it, but.
Oh, there you go. There you go. They're right there.
I can't get to them right now, but I have three of the new canon books. I had one was for Phasma. Do you remember Captain Phasma?
Yes, and I thought that they utterly wasted her, and we can get into that. Sure.
Exactly. From what I understand, she has this whole backstory, and from what I've seen, it was really interesting, and they did nothing with her. And she was just like a throwaway character in the movie. So.
Oh yeah, totally. So it's well, I'll start this with because we should probably start with at least start with the first one. Go to Force Awakens first. But I just want to ask you a question, and the question is kind of topical right now. Have you ever witnessed an abortion? Because I have, and it's called the Disney Star Wars sequels. And there's 3 of them. And unfortunately, I hold them all in my hand right now. So if people want to talk about abortion and everything, this is it. These are the greatest abortions ever put, I guess, to digital film that have ever come across.
All right, so instead of Roe versus Wade, it would be George Lucas versus Disney.
Yes, or I'll even take it a little more deep, which would say George Lucas versus Kathleen Kennedy. So and I'll put this right out there. I hate her. I can't stand her. There's a reason why Spielberg chose not to do the new Indiana Jones movie. And from what we've all read, it's incredibly woke. It deals with time travel with a female character going back and erasing Indiana Jones. So none of the movies happened. And of course, Harrison Ford was way too old for this and ended up in the hospital. So I guess he can't do the rest of the movie. So now she's the main character in the movie. And it sounds absolutely dreadful. She fucked over George Lucas once, she got into Disney. And especially when Lucas had 3 treatments for his films, which you can read. They're online. I've read them. And there are things taken from each outline and put into these movies, like the cones that are used to find those keys that are used to find Palpatine are in his outlines. And I mentioned also before that, like, you could only judge something from what became before it. So you have the original trilogy, and then you have the prequels. So you can only judge the prequels to the originals or the originals to the prequels. And of course, that's why everybody hated the prequels, is because they sucked in comparison to the originals. Now that we have these Disney sequel trilogy, you can now compare them to the prequels. And these Disney films make the prequels look brilliant, because at least Lucas had a cohesive storyline. He knew right what the first one was. He knew what the second one was. He knew what the third one was. He knew that the original trilogy was all about Luke. He knew that the prequels were all going to be about Anakin. Who the fuck are these new trilogies about? Ren?
So what you're trying to tell
not Ren. I'm sorry. That's Rey. Rey. Who is about Rey?
What you're telling me is that you like Jar Jar Binks better than these the sequels?
I give Jar Jar credit for being the first of its type as far as the special effect goes. But I did wonder, like, why did everybody like BB-8 and hate Jar Jar? I mean, BB-8 is a comic relief. BB-8 is cute, does a lot of beeping, does a lot of rolling around. But
this trilogy's R2-D2.
Well, I mean, BB-8 actually does stuff. BB-8 actually helps them where Jar Jar never did. Jar Jar was just a problem. Yeah. That's it. That's all he was just a problem.
True enough.
Yeah, and I mean, now that I've kind of gone through my abortion rant and all that stuff, and I truly do hate Disney. I'll say this, and then I'll let you kind of give your thoughts on this. I hate Disney. I refuse to subscribe to Disney. As far as Marvel goes, I ended with Endgame, and that's where, to me, the series ends. I will not watch any of the TV shows. I will not watch any of the new movies. I did see Mandalorian season 1. It was okay, even though it was supposed to be Boba Fett. And I never watched season 2, but I did see the Luke Skywalker ending, which I thought he looked pretty shitty. I liked the idea, but the effect looked pretty bad. I'm not going to watch season 2 of The Mandalorian. I'm not going to watch Book of Boba Fett because Boba Fett is fat. Sorry for fat shaming. I'm fat, so I'm allowed to do it. And Boba Fett, in my mind, is not fat. Boba Fett should be, at first, if you want to say that he was in the pit of Sarlacc and he gained weight, then you need to have him lose weight. But Boba Fett looks a certain way. He looks like he's a Mandalorian. He looks like that group of people. He doesn't look fat. And from what I've seen of that show is they brought in the Mandalorian because they knew that Boba Fett was failing. And I'm not going to watch Kenobi because it doesn't make any sense, even though I don't know a lot of the story. But if Ben decides to stay on Tatooine to watch Luke, why is he off doing adventures?
Exactly.
So I won't watch any of that stuff. And it's kind of like Alex Kurtzman with Star Trek. I won't watch anything with Alex Kurtzman's name on it. I think the only thing that I own from him is The Mummy, and that's because it's a Tom Cruise thing. But I just won't have anything to do with him because he's destroyed Star Trek. And I appreciate what J.J. Abrams did with the first Star Trek film. I get what they were doing with doing the alternate universe and all that type of stuff, which really kind of fucked shit up. But the other two movies kind of sucked. And now J.J. Abrams is bringing that suckiness to Star Wars because all he's doing is just remaking Star Wars movies. Kind of like what he did with the Star Trek films, especially the second one, which is just Star Trek 2. So to me, you got Rian Johnson, who sucks. You got J.J. Abrams, who sucks. You got Kathleen Kennedy, who's an overpaid secretary. who probably even makes shitty coffee producing these things, that has no idea what she's doing. Alex Kurtzman is Paramount and all that. So, but I thought I would include him in because I think he is ruining Star Trek, and J.J. Abrams isn't doing much better, and he went on to Star Wars. So I can't stand any of it. And I don't like Disney's politics. I don't like the wokeness. I don't like what Kathleen Kennedy is doing. I don't like what Rian Johnson is doing, and how he fucked over J.J. Abrams, and how J.J. Abrams had to try to fix it with the third film, which ended up kind of being a mess. And because there's no Snoke, we had to bring back the Emperor, which is stupid. So what do you think? Please tell me your thoughts on this.
Okay, I don't hate Disney nearly as much as you do, clearly.
Oh. Oh, I do.
I do agree with when The Force Awakens first came out, I was excited. When they announced that there was going to be a new Star Wars, because George Lucas said for years that there was not going to be another Star Wars. Basically, Episode 6 was the end all be all. The Return of the Jedi was the end.
Right.
And I didn't think that there was going to be an Episode 7 until Disney bought the rights from them. So when they first announced it, I was really excited. This was actually, sadly, my very first time watching a Star Wars film in the theaters. So, well, when it comes to the movies, I enjoyed The Force Awakens. I would have probably liked it a lot better if I didn't get, from here on out, spoilers for episodes 7, 8, and 9, in case you haven't watched it. Not missing much, but anyway. When a buddy of mine spoiled that Han Solo dies at the end, before I even got to see the movie. So I went into it with that kind of, I was upset about that, so I really couldn't enjoy the movie because I knew it was going to happen. And if I would have known that, Han Solo died, if I wouldn't have known that, I probably would have enjoyed the movie a whole lot better.
Okay.
But that's kind of put a stink on the Star Wars movies. And then The Last Jedi, ending to that was, I wasn't too happy about Luke Skywalker.
No, and either was Mark Hamill.
And then The Rise of Skywalker, like I said, I appreciate what J.J. Abrams tried to do, but you can't fix it with fan service. And that's essentially what The Rise of Skywalker was a whole movie of just fan service. I mean, bringing back the Emperor, bringing back Lando, which was cool and all. I didn't mind that, but it's just they depended too much on fan service through the whole movie. Now, I will say this, throughout this entire trilogy, like you said with George Lucas, at least with the prequel trilogy, we had Anakin from when he was a kid, to his training under Obi-Wan, to him becoming Darth Vader. We had a cohesive story going on.
Yes.
This one, it feels like J.J. Abrams wrote the first part, and this is the timeline. Here's where J.J. Abrams ends. Rian Johnson goes so far off down here, and then J.J. Abrams is trying to push it all back to here.
Oh, exactly.
And didn't even make it. So pretty much, J.J. Abrams is point A. Rian Johnson took it the whole way to point Z, somewhere completely different. And then Rian Johnson's trying to push it back to point C, but gets like point M. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is I get why they wanted J.J. Abrams to direct the first film. I get it. I understand that. He's he's a more or less a Steven Spielberg protege. I mean, his whole film Super 8 is in tribute to everything of Steven Spielberg, and with some of the TV stuff he's done. And so I get it. And I understand that because it's what it is, that it's a 25%. So if you change something by 25%, you don't have to pay, to use it. So in Star Wars, the uniforms are, I'm sorry, Star Trek, the uniforms are 25% different. The Enterprise is 25% bigger. And so they're doing their own thing. So they want to get out of classic Trek. And so as far back as the original Star Trek up to Enterprise. So they want to make that like its own thing. So then he comes in and goes, well, we'll do a time, like a time travel thing. We'll do an alternate universe, and okay, fine. And that worked. It was actually done pretty well with having old Spock and young Spock. Like, I know some people didn't like it, but it worked. And so when I heard that he was doing Star Wars, it was like, okay. I've liked some of his stuff. He's hit and miss, but I like some of his stuff. And then when I saw Star Wars, everybody's like, Force Awakens, it was like, okay, it's just a remake of, the first Star Wars film of A New Hope. And it's like, okay, so he's doing a remake sequel. So, and we're all familiar with stuff. So we got Leia in there, we got, Han in there, we got Chewbacca in there, and then we're going to introduce all these other characters. And the Falcon is in there, which if you notice is 25% different, because the Falcon, at least in the first film, its radar dish is not round, it's rectangle. So that way the stormtroopers are 25% different. So that way they didn't have to pay Lucas anything. And because he still gets a check, even if Disney buys it, he still gets money. And then when the movie was over, I'm like, okay, well, the planet killer's the Death Star, and Rey's kind of Luke. And I think it was smart that they had a female lead in it, since the last two trilogies were male. So, okay, let's give a young actress the chance to do the same thing. I was all for that. And then, so I was a supporter of Force Awakens, even with its problems of just kind of just regurgitating what's already been there. Because it's like, okay, this is the first movie in how many years? So let's just get it kicked off, and then we could do anything we want. And then when I heard that Rian Johnson was doing The Last Jedi, I was excited. I'm a big fan of the movie Brick. Looper was awesome. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. And then some stuff started coming out about how all these other directors were fired because they did not agree with Kathleen Kennedy's political agenda of wokeness, the message, all that type of stuff. And it was like, oh, what's going on here? And when I went to go see it, it's like the film is visually beautiful. It's, I guess well directed, and it's well edited, and the score is really good by John Williams, and the effects are good, and everything's good. Like, if you look at it as a movie on its own, it's a solid movie. But in comparison to The Force Awakens, it's like, what the fuck is Rian Johnson doing? Why is he throwing away literally everything that was set up in the first film?
Have you seen the documentary on the Last Jedi?
I haven't. No, I've seen some interviews, and that's about it.
Oh, don't do yourself a documentary. I'm telling you, I watched it and I was getting mad just watching this documentary. So do yourself a favor, avoid the documentary. Unless you want to get mad, then go for it.
Well, then I'll I will avoid it. I think I've watched maybe the documentary that was on Force Awakens, because I was interested in watching how J.J. Abrams directs. But it's
I can't remember.
because didn't Ryan Johnson do Knives Out?
Yeah.
So it's a good thing he did that. I have not seen it, but it's a good thing, and I heard that they're doing a sequel. So it's a good thing that that did really well, and it so it didn't show that he was, you know, that he's still a good filmmaker, because he's. I've heard it's good. I want to see it. It's got Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah, I've heard it's good, but I think with Last Jedi is he pulled a Ghostbusters 2016 on us, and that didn't work, and this didn't work. And each film, if it's Star Wars, should be making more money than the others. And the first one, of course, made over $1 billion. The second one made over $1 billion, but not much more. The third one made over $1 billion, but less than the other two. And it just, I just think Kathleen, to me, just Kathleen Kennedy is the worst thing to ever happen to film. And I don't think when she's listed as producer, it ever really was a good thing, except that it fooled us. So when I was younger and E.T. came out, Kathleen Kennedy was always Spielberg's producer. So we knew, oh, good, Kathleen Kennedy's on this. Okay, good. But now I go like, maybe that's not the case, because she is awful with the t-shirts that say the Force is female and all of this. And to let people know, I mean, I'm Democrat. I voted for Biden. I'm for women's rights and all that type of stuff. But I'm not for wokeness. I am not for canceling people unless they get like a fair hearing on it. I'm not into any of this stuff. And that's what Kathleen Kennedy seems to want to do. So she got a director who was on her side. And she turned Rey into a Mary Sue, where nothing happens. And I got my phone here, and I did a screenshot. So just in case people don't know what a Mary Sue is, I thought I would read it, because this is Rey, which is Mary Sue, originally in fan fiction, a type of female character who is depicted as unrealistically lacking in flaws or weakness. So that's exactly what Rey is. Rey has no weaknesses. Rey has no flaws. And that was purposely done by Kathleen Kennedy. If you look at the actress who plays Rose, who's a smart, talented, attractive woman, they made her look fat. She's like wearing what looks like a potato sack. Her hair is incredibly unflattering. And it's one of those things where Rey has to be perfect. Nobody can be more beautiful than Rey. And so they took an attractive actress, who I believe is also a comedian, and made her look schlumpy. And that to me doesn't make, it doesn't make any sense. And then if you notice in the third film, J.J. Abrams pretty much just puts her in the background. He's like, that's a Ryan Johnson thing. I don't want Rose in my movie. So he just stuck her in the background on a planet. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on that type of stuff?
Well, I mean, I like Ryan Johnson. Like you said, I liked Brick. I just seen Brick for the first time after I seen Knives Out, believe it or not. And he's a great director, and I just, visually, the movies are stunning. The acting is well done, but the problem is that, like I said, when you have one story going from here all the way over here, and then try to push it back to point C, it just doesn't work that way. And I heard someone say it like this: in a trilogy, you usually have the beginning. The first part of the trilogy is usually like the introduction of the characters. We're introduced to our main bad guy. We're introduced to you know, some if the introduction. Then the middle, we get the climax. We didn't get to a climax in this movie. It was basically like one story, and that's really it. There's nothing nothing moved forward, if you know what I mean. Sorry.
Well, because they never had a plan. I think that the original trilogy does it best, where because you're correct. If you have a trilogy, the first film is the beginning, the second movie is the middle, and the third movie is the end. So it's A, B, C. But then you bring it down a little bit more, where Star Wars has the original Star Wars, A New Hope, has a beginning and middle and end in it. Then Empire Strikes Back has its own beginning, middle, and end. And so does Jedi. So you can watch each one of those films and you would get a full 2-hour movie. And even though like the original Star Wars has Vader spinning off, after the Death Star goes, and you're like, oh, sequel, that's awesome. The ending of the film is the Death Star blowing up. And they leave Empire open, but it still has an ending. And Jedi has, the Death Star blowing up again. And then they have the celebration. And they kind of do the same thing with the prequels. So, they blow up that station. Anakin blows up the station. Then the second one, Anakin and Padme get married. And then the third one ends with, everybody going their separate ways, the creation of Darth Vader and Padme's death and all that stuff. This, I think the first one really is the only one that really has a beginning, middle, and end. We were introduced to Rey. We then meet like the rebels, and then they have to blow up the planet killer. I think that because it's J.J. Abrams trying to make a complete movie. But I don't really think the other ones do.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you on the Rey being overpowered. Like she learns the Force way too easily. Like,
way.
She's able to do the Jedi mind trick, like while she's in captivity, and it's like, no, like it takes a Jedi a long time to be able to, change someone's emotion. This is something that, Luke Skywalker and them trained for years and years and years to do. I mean, and supposedly she never knew what the Force was. She didn't know anything about it until all of a sudden the Force. And now all of a sudden she knows how to fight.
Yeah, I think because there's this scene where Kylo Ren is trying to get into her brain and she fights back. So I'm guessing that's where she realizes, oh, I can do something too. So then she makes the stormtrooper, who at first goes like, what are you talking about? I'm not going to come to you and let you out of your, out of like those manacles. I'm not going to leave. And then it clicks and then she does it. But it happens way too quickly because she's a Mary Sue. She doesn't have to be trained. She knows everything perfectly. And she does everything perfectly. She only gets hurt maybe once in all 3 movies where we actually see it. Like, I think that she gets hit by a lightsaber possibly, but there's no damage done to her. And it's yeah, she has no growth as a character. She has no arc. She has nothing. Like, oh boy, her parents left without her, sold her to somebody on the planet. Yeah. And who I guess is the guy that buys junk because it looked like his hand and sounded like his voice. But I mean, who cares? I mean, Luke wanted to, Luke's, aunt and uncle got slaughtered. and he never knew like his father and mother. And so he goes off with Ben, and then Ben gets killed. So, and then you have, Anakin, who is a slave, and his mom gets killed, and he starts murdering everybody. And he starts off as this cute little kid who doesn't like being called a slave, to him murdering children. By the third film, he has a definite arc. And I've seen some stuff on YouTube saying, well, why isn't Anakin a Mary Sue? Because he isn't. He has an arc. He has a story. Yeah.
He's gone through everything. He lost his mother. The Jedi Council didn't trust him. That pushed him over the edge. And then Palpatine was in the background, like literally probably using his Force magic to influence him to do bad things.
I mean, it's possible. I think once he realized who Anakin is, yeah, I mean, he definitely manipulates him, especially later on when he's like a teenager. And I mean, it's just nothing with Rey. I mean, Kylo has an arc. I mean, we don't really know who he is at the beginning, but he's a wannabe Darth Vader. He gets manipulated and then turns to be good and saves Rey with a really creepy kiss at the end. Which was kind of strange. And then he fades away. But it's I actually found out in this as a whole, as if I put all three films as a whole, I think they're garbage. That there's no reason to watch these movies. I wish they were not made. There's been rumors that Disney is going to bring in Lucas, and they're actually going to like retcon these three and make three new films that follow from like Jedi on. I wish that they would do that. Individually, I think The Force Awakens is okay. I think that's all right. Last Jedi has stuff I like in it, but overall, I don't, because he just changes too much, and it does kind of become woke. And then I think Rise of Skywalker is just a giant mess. I mean, and I would like to know the time period. Like what's the time in between each movie?
Supposedly they happen right, supposedly like within a year or so apart. I know from Jedi to The Force Awakens it's supposed to be 30 years in between. So what I would love to know, I would love to see like something to bridge that gap, kind of like Rogue One, to like explain, how the Emperor supposedly survived.
Well, I guess that's what Obi-Wan is, that it takes place between stuff, but it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Obi-Wan is going to be in between episode 3 and episode 4. Supposedly.
But 3 and 4. So, which doesn't make a lot of sense, because if he's hiding out, why would he be having adventures? Like, nobody's supposed to know who Obi-Wan is. He's just allegedly supposed to be keeping an eye on Luke. Why is he going out on, in adventures?
He's some crazy old man in the desert that just speaks mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, according to the uncle. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that. I was hearing a lot of people talk about the Obi-Wan show, and they're like all excited about it until Kathleen Kennedy announced that she wanted them to brighten it up a little bit because it's going to be too dark. Lady, Executive Order 66 was just put into effect. Jedi are in danger. How much lighter can that be? That is like the darkest point to be a Jedi at that point.
Well, I mean, remember, they stopped production on Obi-Wan because of Mandalorian, and that the scripts were identical. So that's why Obi-Wan is one of the reasons why it took so long to come out, is they had to kind of rewrite the show.
It was supposed to be a movie at one point, but then they changed it into a show.
Yeah, I would have preferred it just as a 2-hour movie. That would have been
Exactly.
that would have been fine, a Star Wars story or whatever it is, Obi-Wan, that I would have been okay with that. But the character who I now hate the most, I used to hate Rey the most. I really did. Now I actually dislike somebody else.
Oh,
And
sure.
I really hate Finn.
Wow.
He is the most useless character in this entire series.
Wow.
And I know the actor even complained about that they set him up to kind of be like a Jedi in the first movie. And they just, and he says it's because that he's black, that they, with Last Jedi, that they kept kind of bringing him down more. And he is, I got so tired because I kind of watched these back to back of him just going, Rey, where's Rey? Rey, where's Rey? Rey. It was so obnoxious. He comes out of being out of his coma in the second film, and he's walking around with all those tubes and stuff. And then once he gets kind of put together, he ends up on the bridge, and the person goes next to him, you must have 1,000 questions. And he goes, where's Rey? The only thing he cares about in this entire movie is Rey. And I get it. If he wants to fuck Rey, I get it. Okay. I do, but I don't, because for some reason they made her so asexual that there's nothing attractive about Rey at all. I mean, all of us as kids were turned on by Princess Leia, even though she was wearing that huge white blanket thing. She was still very attractive and smart and all that stuff. With and especially in Return of the Jedi, being in the Jabba, bikini. So I don't care. It's hot. Just like they did with Natalie Portman with giving her a belly shirt. And but they make Rey so asexual. It's like, so I don't get it. Like, I would like to take all 3 scripts and scan every one and just search for the word Rey. And I bet you Rey is said more times than the letter A or the word the. That's all he does in this whole film. And he constantly keeps getting knocked out because they don't know what to do with him. Because what purpose does he have? Chewie can fight and fly. Poe can fight and fly. Rey's, got the Force. I mean, it's like everybody could do something. What does Finn do? He doesn't do anything.
I mean, he's pretty much there for the ride. I mean, well, to be fair, he does help blow up the one that tower thing in the last movie. So,
well, he's one of many, but he's he does stuff with them, but also he's a stormtrooper. He should never hit anything dead on. It's a running joke that stormtroopers are the worst shots ever. And he should have never been able to hit anything, maybe until the 3rd film, or even maybe halfway through the 2nd film, where he finally learns how to shoot something like dead on. But otherwise, he is. And they also said that the stormtroopers that they're taken as children and forced to become. What happened to the clones?
The only thing I can think of is over the 30 years, cloning became illegal after the Empire was done away with. So the First Order had to when the First Order was formed, they had to go kidnap children in order to bring them up as stormtroopers. I don't know 100% if that's how it is, but that's the way. That's what I gathered from the tidbits that I've seen throughout the movie.
See, and I don't like doing that. I don't like going, oh, well, I think this happened because of this reason. It makes that. I only want to go off of what the movie tells me. And I know what's that?
That's what the movie says. You remember at the when they run into that girl when they go to that one place where the Death Star landed, where she was going to get
the cube, the triangle thing.
Yeah, well, when her and Poe were talking, and she was saying that they took her from her family and they forced her to become a stormtrooper.
Which that to me doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you watch the film, the original, I haven't seen the remake, but the original Conan the Barbarian, yeah, they go into the villages, they slaughter they basically kill the men, rape the women, steal the kids, and then they become like slaves and work for the bad guys. But Conan was a fighter, so he, that's how he got into the arena and didn't have to be a slave. So to me, that makes a little bit more sense, because if you're kidnapped as a child and you have your own personality, you still have free will. At some point, you may turn a gun and shoot the leader. So why not just stick with clones?
I mean, at this point, would it make sense for a clone to have feelings at this point? I mean, I'm just saying because
no, because it wouldn't be. I mean, it made sense that all the clones looked like one person, that they looked like Boba Fett, and that Jango would grow up to look like Boba Fett. That makes sense. But I guess that they, and it would probably save money and time and everything. So I don't think if they were still doing clones, they would say, oh, these are white clones, these are black clones, these are Asian clones, they would just do one clone. So it's I don't know. I just don't. I don't see these, that at the age of something like 13, if they're being trained to be stormtroopers, like and you can't even get into like the military, like here, until you're like 17 or 18. And then 17 and 18-year-olds are still defiant. They're brainwashed into following orders for the military to go kill people. So if they're being kidnapped as little kids and being trained as stormtroopers, what are they doing from age 3 up to when they're becoming a stormtrooper? Because they wouldn't be teaching them math, politics, English, because all they need to do is fire a gun.
pretty much. I mean, your guess is as good as mine at this point. I mean, that's why when I watched these movies the second time, we'll get into this a little bit later, but I kind of looked at it through a different lens this time. So, but going on to this, I think they just had to spar the moment, and plus it also goes back to story. There wasn't a coherent story going through the entire trilogy.
No,
So
they had absolutely no idea what they were doing.
Exactly. So when you have J.J. Abrams writing this, Rian Johnson doing something completely different, and then what was supposed to be different director was supposed to direct The Rise of Skywalker, but then he backed out and J.J. Abrams took his place. I think it was the guy who did Jurassic World.
The guy who did Fallen Kingdom was supposed to, I believe it was Fallen Kingdom, was supposed to direct one, and then he got fired. The same thing happened on Solo. There were the original directors on that. I believe they said they shot like 80% of the film, 90% of the film, and then Ron Howard took over and just like reshot everything.
Mhm.
And the same thing happened with Rogue One. And it's all goes back to Kathleen Kennedy. It all goes back to her agenda, her message. And if if you don't believe what Queen Catherine is saying, you get fired. And I think it goes to show that probably somebody is excited about directing a Star Wars movie, and then when they get canned, they don't care, because it's like, well, if Lucas was doing this, if he was one of the producers, this would probably be a much more enjoyable experience.
I mean, when you look at the original trilogy, George Lucas directed the first one, and then two other directors directed uh, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And that, I mean, it may not have been a cohesive story. There were some problems, but at least it made a lot more sense than these movies.
Well, so yeah, some things in the original film definitely don't. Like I don't believe that Luke and Leia were ever meant to be brother and sister. If you've read Journal of the Wills, the scripted stuff like that, they were never brother and sister. So when when Leia makes out with Luke, in Empire Strikes Back, and Luke's all happy about that, that's kind of creepy when you find out that in Jedi that they're related. So there are things that don't make sense. I mean people have proven like the castle run, like the measurements of the castle run aren't parsecs. Like Lucas totally got that wrong. Like scientists have actually broken that down. That it's kind of like basic science, that it's not a measurement of time. Um, so there are things in the original movies that do not make sense at all, and its dialogue is pretty bad. Carrie Fisher's even talked about that, and she's a screenwriter on her own and a ghost writer, so I think she probably has the right to say that. Um, well, and speaking of Carrie Fisher, I think that Ryan Johnson screwed over whoever the new director is for the third one by keeping Leia alive. And
Talk about that.
yeah, please do. Yeah. What do you have to
How
say?
how does she know how to use the Force? I mean, literally, it was never established that she could use the Force from episode 4 throughout, and then all of a sudden we had no indication from I'm she's out in space. Let's face it, Jedi or not, you would have froze to death and died.
Well,
You would.
she is a little frozen, and then she turns into Mary Poppins and flies back inside. But I guess, it's that in Return of the Jedi, they, of course, well, in Empire Strikes Back, Ben and Yoda are talking, and they do say there is another, just in case Luke doesn't work out. We don't know who that is, but I think people were speculating that it was Leia. And then in Jedi, Han says to Leia, Luke is okay. And she goes, and she kind of looks up and goes, I know he's okay, type of thing. So I guess they're kind of giving hints that she has it. I guess she would, if
It makes sense, but for something like that, you kind of have to like give some hints, that she can use the Force. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean,
I
at that
guess,
point in time, I don't think that she was intended to know how to use the Force. I think what they should have done, and just my personal opinion, no disrespect to Carrie Fisher, rest in peace. I think they really should have had, especially when she was going through all them health problems and stuff. during her last days alive, I think what they should have done is had her die at that point, and then have Luke had the final battle with help Raid in the final battle with Kylo Ren. That's just my opinion, but
well, no, I think that if so, she shoots all of her scenes for Last Jedi. She's on her way home and dies. So now there's the decision. You got to make that choice of what do we do for part 3?
mm-hmm.
Do we keep Last Jedi as it is and just let the director, whoever that is, for the third movie figure it out? Or do you have her die? So she Mary Poppins back. She gets put onto the bed. She's got the mask on. She's in a coma. Do you then say she dies? But then that means that you got to reshoot every single scene with her in it.
Yeah, I mean, what they could have done which would have made more sense if they wanted to make her, she was able to use the Force and all that. They should have had it in like maybe flashbacks, kind of like what they did with Luke training Leia. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't change it now, but if it was me, knowing what they knew then, because I think she passed away right after her, like you said, right after she shot all of her scenes.
Yeah, they said like she was like on her way home, and that's when it happened, or she like just got home.
Yeah, and they shot from what I'm understanding, all the scenes that were in Rise of Skywalker, except for the part where she was on the bed. I think that was a double because you don't really see her face when she lays down on the bed.
Right.
And so that gives her life force or whatever it is she did. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there could have been other stuff too. I mean, as long as you're not seeing her face, they could just use a double in Rise of Skywalker. And I like that she still got to be in it. They kind of put her through, because I guess all that footage was shot during The Last Jedi, and that I like that they could put her through most of the movie of Rise of Skywalker. I like that they got Harrison Ford back for that. I also like that they got, Mark Hamill back. So it was nice seeing them. I mean, this is the only movie that has everybody in it. It's got Luke, it's got Han, it's got Leia, it's got Chewie, and it's got Lando.
Yeah.
Granted, none of them are in the same scene really together, which is what we wanted. But, at least they're in the same film together.
Force Ghost.
Yeah, a lot of ghosts. And that was weird at the end is that Rey, when she's at for some reason, I guess, did her research to find out where Luke's, uncle and aunt lived and took over his house. And then when the woman says, "Who are you?" she says, "I'm Rey." And then she's like, "Well, what's your last name?" And she goes, "Skywalker." Nice of you to steal that last name. That's, it wasn't given to you. You just kind of took it. But then I was thinking, like, what if she doesn't own that house? Like, what if that land is owned by somebody else?
Get off my land.
Yeah. And then she's like living there, and she's got the sand out, and she's, just doing whatever she's doing, going to Telsey to pick up some power converters or whatever. And then one day some guy shows up and goes, "Why are you living in my house? I own this land." Like, she just kind of assumed that she could just go there. And, yeah, I mean, now she's like what are those people that live in people's houses and they won't leave? Not a freeloader, but the homeless people that go into a house. Starts with a V.
I'm not
Come on,
sure.
help me here.
I'm sorry.
I'll think of it. I'll think it's a very well-known word. I'm just blanking on it, but I know it's a homeless person that goes and lives in somebody's house when they're on vacation, and when the people come back, they can't kick them out. So it's and as I'm sure somebody probably in the credits will put or down in the comments will put what the word is. But if I don't say it before we're done, but there's so many things like that I question, like why does Palpatine live in the underworld? Like if you see most evil rich people, Donald Trump, they live in really nice places. Like they look good, they live in nice places, they have a lot of money. And if you look at like the Omen series, Damien in part 3 worked for the government. And he was like, he ended up being an ambassador. And so like, why does Palpatine live in shit? Why doesn't he actually get like a nice place to live, like a castle or some building that was created that he could go live in? What does he do? He's attached to that thing that moves him around. Like, what does he do the whole day? He just kind of hangs out and sleeps until somebody comes by and then he wakes up. Like visually it looks nice, but what does he do?
He sits there and reads the newspaper. No.
Do they bring it by? Like the Tatooine Times? He wants to know what the pod race, numbers were. Damn, I lost again. It's not the same since Annie left.
Go get my coffee.
Yeah, does he have coffee? Does somebody roll a TV in like they did with Hannibal Lecter? They just kind of roll a TV in and he watches television.
Now go away, Ben. I need to watch my shows.
I got to watch my stories. When Life to Live is about to begin. A lot of the stuff just doesn't make sense to me. Like he because they said it took years. Okay, so they think he's dead, which I guess that was a clone in Return of the Jedi, that he's been pulling the strings from that location since then, or even before then. And then he builds these Star Destroyers that for some reason are underwater, and they have these giant cannons on them. And this is where I think just overindulgence comes through, which is where I think Lucas had a problem with the prequels, is why do you have thousands of Star Destroyers? Like, who built these? And who's there to run them? Because there's lights on. So how many years did this shit take to make? Because I mean, it is funny in Clerks when they're talking about the construction guys building the Death Star. And you imagine, yeah, you would have to probably get a crew of people who know engineering and electronics and all that to build these ships, or even the Star Killer, like the Planet Killer. Where are they? Where are they coming from? So why not have like 20 ships, which is a lot more realistic? It's so stupid. I just don't have fun with these types of movies because they just do these things where they overindulge. Oh, let's do 1,000 ships. That looks good. Yeah, but it doesn't make sense.
Again, like I said, there should have been a plan when they made the movies, when they wrote the scripts. J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson and whoever was supposed to direct the third movie before J.J. took over. They should have all got together and said, okay, here, this is what we need to do. I want the story to start here. We want these events to happen, and then it ends with this big event. To be honest with you, I would have rather have seen Snoke actually be a bigger villain, not just die like 2 seconds in.
What a weak character compared to the Emperor. I mean, what is Snoke? where does he come from? You got a little hint of his powers, but not like the Emperor.
He's supposed to be a manipulator. He's supposed to know. If he is this great manipulator, how did he not sense Kylo Ren, using the Force to turn the lightsaber around to stab him?
Because Kylo Ren was playing with the other lightsaber. And Snoke is saying exactly what he's doing. He's got his lightsaber. He's turning it. And then you see the other lightsaber turn. Yes, he's going to kill the person who's the real enemy here. And he's basically just foreshadowing his own death. But it's so dumb. Why would you leave? Because it, like with the Emperor in Return of the Jedi, it was all about killing Vader and having Luke take his place. So when the Emperor snaps, the lightsaber away from Luke, and he just sets it on the arm of his chair, kind of aimed at Luke, and he's like, "Oh yes, your weapon, your Jedi weapon." It's all a plan. It's all manipulation. It's all to get, it's like he wants Luke to take that lightsaber and strike down Vader and join him. So he kind of makes it free for him to take. But not in this, not in Last Jedi, is that I think Snoke snagged it, put it down so they wouldn't have it. And I guess somehow Kylo Ren was able to manipulate Snoke and had it go through him, and then, this way, and then went that way, cut him in half. But that's Rian Johnson, because there's even a line in The Last Jedi that says, we want to, I'm messing it up, but it's like, we want to get rid of the old and bring in the new. And that was exactly what they were trying to do, because even with that Disney park thing, the Star Wars one, that Kathleen Kennedy, like Star Wars Cafe or whatever it was called, that bombed horribly, is Kathleen Kennedy only wanted that to be new Star Wars. And they're like, no, it has to be all Star Wars. What are you talking about? Because she wanted it to be her own. So what do? You kill Han Solo in the first movie, which Harrison Ford was fine with, because he wanted Han Solo to die in Return of the Jedi. So now he got his wish. And then you kill Luke in the second film. So now we got both of them gone. And then by pure luck for her, Carrie Fisher dies. So she can't really be in the third movie. So now you are getting rid of almost all the original cast and keeping your own that nobody gives a shit about.
So, now that you brought that up, how does Luke actually die?
I think that he uses so much energy to project himself to that planet and fight that he dies. And he knows that he gave them enough time to escape, so he kind of redeemed himself, that he can now die.
I mean, because when I first saw that, I thought that now, the second time, when I rewatched this, when I first saw it, I was just so mad that they killed Luke Skywalker. I was just so mad that, everyone was mad about it. Even Mark Hamill was mad about it. It was,
oh yeah,
and they were begging Rian Johnson, don't kill Luke. It would be a big mistake to kill Luke. Or, Carrie Fisher, I think, was even telling him, it wouldn't be a good, wise idea to kill Luke Skywalker. And I think the reason she was saying that is because, I think she knew that her time was, very short. She knew that, her time, like, she didn't have enough, hardly that much time left. And clearly she probably knew from the get-go. So I think that's probably why she, they probably should have had her. But if they were going to kill her, at least kill her in a better way than just going out the core. You know what I mean?
I don't think if Carrie Fisher didn't die, I think she would have had a better part. Maybe they would have killed her just to end it, but she would still be alive. But I think that she would have had a much bigger part. And it all goes back to Kathleen Kennedy. That's what it goes back to, is that she just wants to get rid of this stuff so she could call it her own. And there were all these, which is why she was not allowed, more or less, on the set of Mandalorian, with Jon Favreau and his partner. There are pictures of Favreau and his partner, I'm blanking on his name, on the set of Mandalorian. And John Filoni, who created the Clone Wars, Star Wars Clone Wars, and Star Wars Rebels. And so he's a massive part of Star Wars. So you have a huge fan in Jon Favreau, and then you have already a guy who's established himself sitting on the set, and you see in the background, like, just Kathleen Kennedy, like, on her cell phone, because I guess since she's like the CEO type of thing, she can come and go. But according to the actual guy that runs Disney, she has no say over these things. And that was one of the things with I'm blanking on her name, but the actress that got fired from The Mandalorian, one of the bounty hunters, is when she went all crazy conservative on social media, claiming that she didn't even know what she was talking about. She was saying some pretty bad things. And that was the reason that Kathleen Kennedy fired her. But what the other thing is that it's not, oh no, we don't accept that type of behavior at Disney, you're fired. Is that character on Mandalorian was more popular than Rey. And Kathleen Kennedy can't have that. And the woman that's on Mandalorian is good looking. She's sexy. She plays a smart character. She kicks ass. She's like this bounty hunter. And her action figure was selling like off the shelves. So what does Kathleen Kennedy do? Boom, we found it. Now, if you agree or disagree with what she says, that's a whole other thing. But she found a reason to can her. And Kathleen Kennedy did, because nobody could be better than Rey. Rey is it. Rey is perfect. And which is funny, because they didn't even release a Rey action figure until much later. She was like one of the last ones to get released.
Really?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Yeah. Like, people were asking, like, why isn't there a Rey figure? Like, you would think that she's one of the first ones to come out, and she wasn't.
Really? That's weird. I know practically nothing about when it comes to the toys and stuff. I'm not an action figure guy, so.
Well, I mean, I used to collect all of them. I collect all of them up to Return of the Jedi. I collected some of the stuff from that, but I was older, so I only collected some stuff. Where Star Wars and Empire, I collected like all of it. Return of the Jedi, I probably did like half. And then when Phantom Menace came out, I think the first figure to get released from that was one of the robot guards. That's like, okie dokie, one of those guys. Roger, that guy. I think that was the first figure to come out, and I bought that. I sold it later on, but that was the first one I bought, and I haven't bought a figure.
Your second favorite character?
Yes, Roger. I don't mind them so much, Roger. Roger. I mean, at least I don't know. I guess they're okay. I mean, whatever. But yeah, I mean, if
you just don't like it when they go Misa Jetta Binks.
oh God, no, not at all. I don't. No. And some people say that Jar Jar is racist and all that type of stuff. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe he's supposed to be Jamaican or something. I don't know. It is played by a black guy, but who's really kind of doing a step and fetch it type of thing with Jar Jar. And from what I understand, it's like his career was pretty much destroyed by that. But now he goes to conventions and he gets standing ovations. So that's I guess different from what little Anakin now gets, which is, did he get jail time? And
he got the crappy end of the stick there.
Yeah, so it's but I don't blame a lot of these actors not wanting to come back. I know the guy who plays Finn, he for a long time trashed Star Wars, but then he turned around and said he would come back. Daisy Ridley said that she didn't want to come back, but then they thought of doing a Rey show, and then she said that she might come back.
I don't mind the actor.
No,
I just wish they would have done more with Rey. I really think Rey, if she was handled correctly, she could have been such an awesome character. You know what I mean? But it was just like you said, Mary Sue. She's like when you watched The Rise of Skywalker, did you think that she was going to turn to the dark side?
Never.
No.
Never.
I was kind of hoping she was going to turn.
No, because all they were doing was copying the other films. She even sees the dark side of herself, which Luke more or less saw on Dagobah. And she has a stupid ass lightsaber that has the two beams that go up like that and then then flip out, which having the long pull is fine. I mean, it was similar to Darth Maul, but having him up like that is just so stupid. Because how are you grabbing it? It's like Kylo Ren's lightsaber is so dumb. He's got like the little flames, which every once in a while he puts into a shoulder. But if his hand slips, he's cutting off his entire hand. All of his fingers are going to go right off. I mean, I know they want to do the cool lightsaber for toys.
I admit it was a cool lightsaber, but
I could not. No. And you know what I find insulting? Speaking of lightsabers,
oh boy,
having Finn use a lightsaber. I don't think anybody that is not like a Jedi or going to be a Jedi or whatever it is should have a lightsaber. I don't think that, unless the plan originally was in Force Awakens that Finn is going to become a Jedi, then, which he obviously wasn't, because he just ended up yelling Rey for the next two movies, he should not be handling a lightsaber. So when they get the lightsaber at in Force Awakens, when they go to that planet that has like the bar on it, with the woman with the glasses, she hands it, because Rey's not there, she hands it to Finn. No, that's Luke's lightsaber. She should be handing it to Han. That would make sense. Why are you handing it to a perfect stranger who, on top of that, worked for the First Order?
Especially in the expanded universe, they explain that the creation of a lightsaber is a very sacred thing. That you have to be force sensitive in order to create the lightsaber. Now, the crystals or whatever, I forget how they actually did it. I read in one of the Darth Maul books that he explained how he created his lightsaber. He basically sat in this I don't know, like a almost like I'm not sure how you explain it, but basically this like like a room, and he basically used the Force to create these the crystals and to activate them to rather it's the dark side or the light side, and then basically that's when you create the lightsaber. So if that's how it's done, supposedly, if you're not Force sensitive, you wouldn't even be able to activate the lightsaber.
Yeah, because does it just have an on-off switch?
Yeah, but it's still you need the Force to activate the crystals.
Well, okay. So in Force Awakens, we kind of see how things make a little bit of sense, because I think that they did actually write a script. Like they sat down and kind of thought about it. I don't like how they went about it with doing the reboot, sequel type of thing. But so it makes sense. Rey's on the planet. She meets up with BB-8. She then meets up with Finn. They end up in the Falcon. The Falcon then gets stopped by Han and Chewie. They then get onto the Falcon and they go to the planet where the woman is with the bar. Rey being, later on, of course, the Palpatine, but for the first movie, she obviously has something going on with the Force. And it leads her down under the bar. She enters the room. She sees the case and she opens it and she gets all these visions. And it's Luke's father's lightsaber. So it's the one that Ben gave Luke. Because Luke, it's his is green. And this one was blue. And
this is the one that he lost in Empire Strikes Back, is what I gathered.
Yes, because in Jedi he makes a green one, because we see that it's green. We even see him in a one of the deleted scenes at the beginning when he's with R2. He's doing a screwdriver on it, like he's like doing the finishing touches. And then Vader even goes, oh, you made your own lightsaber, impressive, nice. So when the woman that runs the bar gives Rey the lightsaber, that to me makes sense, because the woman at the bar obviously senses something. She knows something. She says, okay. But when Rey says, I don't want this, I had these visions, I never asked for this, and she leaves, why would you give it to Finn? Why wouldn't you give it to the person who you know? Even give it to Chewbacca. Why Finn? He's the most useless character in the entire movie. We still never found out what he wanted to tell Rey when they were sinking in that pit, which I still don't understand.
Probably I love you.
That's what I was thinking. But then he's got the thing with Rose. Rose says, you protect the things you love, and then she kisses him. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of seems to have a little bit of a thing with the black woman in Rise of Skywalker on that planet. Mm-hmm. So he could be macking as much as he wants, but he doesn't seem to be. So yeah, maybe he's got a thing for Rey, which is why his whole existence is being obsessed with Rey. So I just don't get Finn. I don't understand it. Even Poe is more interesting. And to go back to the toys, would you really buy any of these toys? Maybe Ren, maybe Kylo Ren, maybe Poe. But I can't think of any toys I would buy from any of these movies.
I mean BB-8. I'd buy
BB-8, okay. BB-8, maybe the little rabbit things are kind of cute. Maybe get one of those.
The porgs, yeah. Also, how do you feel about BB-8's little nemesis they had, that BB-9 or whatever, the black version of BB-8?
I thought that was kind of funny.
I was hoping that would have been like something going on with that. Like there would have been like a rivalry between them two. Give him his own version.
Oh,
of that.
That would have been good, kind of like them battling each other, like battle
Them,
box.
yeah, exactly. Them battling it out, while what I would have loved to have seen in the Last Jedi, terrible movie. But here's my version of how it made it better. I could have made it better.
Okay.
We could have had BB-8 fighting, duking it out with the black, which is BB-9, I think they called it. I don't know if they ever gave it a name.
Yeah, I have no idea if it has a name or not. I just know it as the black BB-8.
Yeah, I have a Funko Pop of it. So, anyway, so they called it BB-9. So anyway, so I was thinking have them two duke it out, and then you could have had Finn fighting Phasma, like giving them a lot better of a battle than they did there.
See, and that's once again, it's a J.J. Abrams creation. So what did Rian Johnson do? He killed it.
And
so we're not going to get that awesome fight.
Well, the problem is that she supposedly died in The Force Awakens. And then you don't really. I mean, you see her like once in The Force Awakens. I don't know if she like exploded. Or you assume she exploded when.
Well, am I getting it wrong? And does she die in Force Awakens? That's when she collapses.
We don't know for sure.
But is it Force Awakens or Last Jedi where Finn and her meet up, and then he throws her off, and then she collapses down into the fire? Am I getting my movies confused with her?
That's the Last Jedi.
Yeah. Okay. So that's once again, yeah, like I said, Rian Johnson destroying something that J.J. Abrams did.
But I think she supposedly died in The Force Awakens as well. So, to be honest with you, this time watching The Force Awakens, I was falling asleep watching this one.
Oh wow! Okay.
I was like, it was. I guess it felt too boring the third time around, actually.
I don't. Surprisingly, I don't find any of these movies to be boring. I just think they're just really poorly written, just really disjointed, in everything. So it's because it's even weird to go back to what's her name? Phantasm.
Captain Phasma.
Phasm. Okay. So we know it's a woman, obviously, which I liked. I have no problem with this. And that's what I want people to know is I don't have a problem with Rey being a young woman with the Force. I just have a problem with what they did with her character.
They could have made her character more interesting. They could have.
Yeah, she's very boring.
They could have made her like her being a nobody turning into a somebody is what they should have done.
Yeah, but they were very confused because we'll stick with the stormtrooper thing. So she's a female, which is fine, like a tall female, but once Finn knocks her down and she's about to die, like when the floor breaks loose, part of her eye is missing, like on the helmet, and we see that it's a white woman. And I kind of wondered, like, why did they do that? Like, it looked cool, but is there some sort of point that Finn is a black man who kicks the shit out of her, who's a white woman, and then she dies? Or because we already know they're human because they're taken at age 3 or whatever. Like, why are we? I mean, and I have always liked that. I like when half the mask is off, like Spider-Man 2 with Peter Parker, he has half the mask on, or Batman and Batman Returns is, Michael Keaton rips the helmet off and he's got it all kind of stuck up. I love stuff like that. I think it just visually looks great. So she looked great.
It makes more sense. I mean, if you're in a battle, some part of your armor or costume is eventually going to get some damage.
Right. I just found the dynamic interesting of, like, was this done on purpose with young black man killing maybe, I don't know, might be young white woman. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm reading too deep
Uh,
into it, but this is The Last Jedi where there's a ton of wokeness in it. So
Game of Thrones fans, the girl that plays uh oh my god, what's her name? Brienne, I think it is. The one that's always with Jamie Lannister. She's the one that plays Captain Phasma.
oh, okay. I would have absolutely no idea. I watched the first couple episodes and I got what I wanted, which is I wanted to see the Dragon Queen naked, and I did, and I turned it off. I'm one of the I'm one of the few people who actually likes her as Sarah Connor. So I think that she's a good actress. She's very attractive, and so that's as far as I wanted to get with it. Plus, yeah, I think I got 3 episodes into it and just said I don't like one character in this entire movie. They're all kind of asshole, or in this show. So, and I turned it off. Oh, that's okay.
You might have seen her in other things. Um, this the show, the Game of Thrones makes her out to be this very ugly looking person, but in reality, very beautiful. I mean, I can't take that away from her. So, because every time someone brings up her name, they're like, "Oh, the ugly chick from Game of Thrones." Really? Is that all you remember her by? Really? Like, no.
Uh, yeah, and I make no apologies that I like beautiful women, and I will watch some TV shows and movies because of beautiful women. So, you know, I'm that's who I am. That's what I like. I mean, my favorite actress is Mila Jovovich, who was and still is sometimes a supermodel. Got her kicking ass, with zombies. So you got to like that. So, but it's yeah, I think that they could have. I think that they killed off her because it was J.J. Abrams. Everything that J.J. Abrams created, the mask, Kylo Ren's mask. Snoke tells him to get rid of that silly looking mask, and he destroys it because J.J. Abrams created the mask. And then when J.J. Abrams comes back, he rebuilds the mask, and it actually looks cooler than it does for the first movie. I love all that red of them like sticking the pieces back together. But I question, why is there a monkey? Why is there a chimpanzee? A couple of them rebuilding the mask. Where do these chimpanzees come from?
No. You really want to know?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Star Wars is in Planet of the Apes.
So you're saying that they're in the same universe and that they took the apes from planet Earth?
That would be a conspiracy theory, John. That would be a conspiracy theory.
Yes, it would. That would definitely be that Star Wars is in the same portal that Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes takes place in, and that they went down and they kidnapped some apes, and now they make them create armor.
That shit. No.
I just found that weird. Just all of a sudden, I completely forgot about that. It's just like, wait, why are there chimpanzees making like armor?
I mean, I noticed that this time around. I was like, wait, what? Okay, there's monkeys in it.
Yeah, is there some sort of some sort of connection? Yeah, like you just pointed out. So, but all that stuff. Oh, and one of the other things I thought was stupid as hell is the knife. One, I can't stand the whole thing with C3PO going, I can't translate this because it's Sith, and then I'm gonna have to go get my brain, my inner works completely erased. And then he gives them the information and he does some funny stuff because he doesn't know who they are. And then he meets up with R2D2, who I guess has a memory backup. So what was the whole point of him losing his mind to begin with, or his memory?
Okay, so here's the thing that bothers me. He said, I know exactly where this thing is. Why don't you just, okay, you can't tell us. Take us there. Give us the directions.
Or write it down.
Write it down. Do something. Like, why do we have to go through this whole thing of, getting all these wires in the back of your head? And I just want to see my friends one last time.
Yeah, I don't understand that whole thing of what, because I guess they had to go to another place. Like the movie would have been too short. So then they have to go find this guy who could do this memory thing. But yet then R2D2 just simply, because C3P goes, well, I would have remembered if we were best friends. And then that cuts to him having the thing in his head. And he's like, oh, R2. It's like, but then what was the whole point? If he got his memory back that fast, like we're not even getting another movie or two before he gets his memory back. It's like, I'll go back to Star Trek. It's like Into Darkness, where they switch the deaths between Spock to Kirk, and Kirk dies at the end, like Spock did, but it took Spock a whole movie. He dies in part 2. We're all crying in the audience. He's not in part 3. And then, except for the very, very, very end, because he goes through that like Pawn 4, and he's at the different stages. And then he's in part 3, and then he's in part 4 as the fully grown Spock, but he's a different Spock. But in Star Trek Into Darkness, Kirk goes in, gets the radiation, dies. Spock does the con, and then McCoy remembers that a Tribble died and came back to life, and then he injects Kirk, and Kirk goes back to life. Like, we didn't even get one movie without Kirk. He came back like 10, 20 minutes later. Why did he die? What was the point? So it's like this fucking Alex Kurtzman. And then and then with Star Wars, it's this thing with C-3PO. If you're going to wipe his memory, wipe his memory.
Yeah.
Because they've already done that. They mention it in A New Hope. The uncle Owen says erase his memory, and C-3PO's like, what?
That was episode 3 in the prequel show. No.
In A New Hope, when he buys C-3PO, the uncle tells him to erase his memory.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
also, they did that in the prequel trilogy as well. They said to wipe the memory from R2 and that. He's like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, at the very end. Yeah. So they wouldn't remember any of it. Yeah. So it's
first time, won't be the last time. So.
Yeah, I guess he said it done a few times. But I brought up the knife, and that knife just annoys the fuck out of me. So they're just randomly in the desert. They fall through this pit, which I think Rey mentions in the first film. I think she says, watch out for like these dunes. They'll eat you alive. Because she's telling BB-8 to go a different direction when she first meets him, or her, whatever BB-8 is. And so they conveniently fall through. Chewie finds the knife. How dumb is it that she thinks she killed Chewie? Wow, what a misdirect that was. Wow. I mean, how dumb.
I mean,
what a stupid fake out.
To be fair, Ben did tell her that Chewie was on the transport. So she mistaken.
Well, it's not her fault. It's a story problem, that because why didn't they see the other transport go? So they only saw one, but they didn't see the one with Chewie?
I guess they just assumed that was the one, so she tries to grab it with the Force, and then she taps into the dark side and uses Force lightning.
But we never see the second transport leave, the one that Chewie's actually on.
I guess it left before that one pulled off.
I guess, but they get the knife back. He just happens to find it under there. Because this is where time period comes in for me. Like, how long is this? Like, the guy that owned the ship that's up on that mountain that they're investigating is all full of cobwebs. He is a skeleton. Why is that ship still there? There's there's, I don't think there's, are there Jaw? I think they show Jawas, but maybe that's on Tatooine. But there would be scavengers. She's a scavenger, Rey. So why wouldn't people be taking that ship apart? Like, how long is this? If he's a skeleton and the ship is fully functional, but it has spider webs all in it, that doesn't make sense. But they find the knife.
And she was a child when he supposedly landed there.
Yeah. So it has to be years that ship has been there. What? And then they take the knife and then they go to the Death Star from Return of the Jedi. And she takes it and holds it up and pulls the bottom piece out. And she's like,
How would she know?
That's where it is. How would she know to use the knife? How would she know where to put it? It just, that whole knife thing is so stupid. But I did like seeing the inside of the Death Star. I thought it was cool seeing like all the stormtrooper parts and that was cool. I like, the Emperor's throne room, all of that. But I mean, and then she gets a boat and sails out there, through that rough water. Where did she get the boat? They call it something, but I forget the name of it. Vagrant. There we go. That's the word I was trying to think of earlier. Vagrancy. So like if you and your wife go on vacation and you come back and you find a vagrant in your home, there's nothing you could do about it because there's vagrant rights. And it takes a lot, and they can actually throw you out. So that's the word I was trying to think of with her just walking into the Skywalker home, and she could just go, no, I don't care if this is your land. I'm a vagrant. I'm just going to stay here, as long as you don't leave. If they leave the house, then yeah, but if they just stay there. But I did kind of like the fight with them on the pieces of the Death Star.
Like that.
Yeah. But and then she I don't know, why would she heal Kylo Ren? I guess for him to repay the favor at the end.
I don't know. I think she wants him to turn back.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. And when did that become a thing? Is that it's kind of like in the prequels? Remember we talked about the Jedi's running really fast? That's never brought up in the in the original movies, and it's not brought up in these movies that they can run really fast. When did Jedi's be able to heal people or snakes? Because she does heal a snake.
Supposedly, from my knowledge of the expanded universe, she is actually using a lot of the dark side. Only the dark side is allowed to use healing. I guess the Jedi code is forbidden.
That is brought up. Yes. Okay. Now that you say that, in one of the prequels, it might be the second or third one, that Palpatine says you can save Padme, but you have to learn the dark side to do it.
Yeah.
So Kylo Ren is the dark side, so he could do it if he wants to. She could do it because she's a Palpatine, and there's that maybe 60-40 of her going to the dark side. Maybe. Okay. I'll buy into that. Okay.
She's battling the urge to turn to the dark side. That's what the Emperor is trying to push her to turn to the dark side, and Ben's trying to, and Kylo Ren's trying to get her to turn to the dark side. So she's battling like her inner demon pretty much. So that's why she was so easily, like, when she was trying to use the Force, she got angry with Kylo, and that's why she released the Force lightning, which is a Sith trait.
Yeah, the electricity or like lightning.
Force lightning.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll buy into that. Okay. That seems to make a little more sense. So okay. All right. I get that. What else didn't I like that Ryan Johnson changed? Because he changed a lot. Well, one thing I like C3PO having a red arm. I did like that. Because in the original Star Wars, if you remember when he gets attacked by the Jawas and his leg is missing, he has a different color leg on. He has like a silver leg.
Oh yeah,
And they even came out with a toy of C3PO with a silver leg. So you could have C3PO with two gold legs or one silver and one gold.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I liked him with the red arm. I thought that was kind of cool.
So he got his arm stolen somewhere.
Yeah, he goes to explain it and he gets cut off, I think, by Han. Because he's like, yeah, he's like cock blocking Han when he's talking to Leia. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. And then he kind of leaves. So
you probably didn't recognize me with my arm.
whoa, yeah. And how did BB-8 know that R2D2 was underneath that blanket? He just kind of went over to it and just pulled it off.
I mean, okay. Well, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you think J.J. Abrams originally intended Rey to be a Palpatine?
No.
Do you think she was supposed to be a Skywalker? Here's my
that I don't. Everybody said that she was going to be a Skywalker. I don't know. I was hoping they wouldn't go that way.
My only theory that it could have went that way was, if you remember, when she was when at the very beginning, Luke's lightsaber was calling out to her. You know what I mean? And she was like, but the only way she knew it was there was because it was called the Force. Used through the Force, it was calling out to her to come to the lightsaber. Why would Luke's lightsaber call out to a Palpatine?
Because J.J. Abrams set things up open-endedly to say, okay, I'm giving you guys a direction. You got 2 more movies or more, 3 more movies after these, whatever, to deal with it. And his open-ended, characters were not bad ideas. Does Rey have the Force? Is Rey a Skywalker? Finn has a couple moments. We're like, ooh, does Finn have the Force? He's leaving these things open-ended. And they being Ryan Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, decided to shut it down. There's a scene. Did you ever see Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie?
I can't say that I couldn't.
It's a good movie, actually. It's directed by Doug Liman, who did Swingers, and Vince Vaughn is in it. and it's actually a good film. I liked it, but it might be the best I think Angelina Jolie's ever looked. Well, it's the best that both her and Brad Pitt, because they are like totally buff in it. But there's an outtake where Vince Vaughn is riffing with Angelina Jolie. And he is setting things up with open-ended like question/jokes. All she's got to do is keep it going. She cannot keep it going. Instead, she says that he's weird. She goes, you are weird. Because she has no idea how to keep a joke going. Like if we're going back and forth, you're not supposed to say the person died. So if I go, Joe went to the supermarket, you go, Joe bought some beans. Then I go, Joe went back home. And then you go, Joe ate those beans. That's how you're supposed to do it. But the minute you go, if I go, he went back home, And then you go, Joe choked to death on the beans, we're done. It's never supposed to be that way. You're supposed to keep it going. And the reason why I bring that up is that's how I feel Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson dealt with the things with J.J. Abrams. He was keeping it going. He was putting it out there. He was doing all this stuff. I've set it all up for you. I got it. And then they're like, oh, Rey died. Boom, it's done. They changed. Oh, Snoke is killed. Done. Okay. Helmet destroyed. Done. Like, you can't go further because they're completely shutting it down.
Yeah.
And that's not how storytelling is supposed to work. They just don't know what they're doing. They have no idea. So it's a good thing that Rian Johnson did Knives Out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people like that movie. They think it's really good. So it shows that this was maybe an isolated incident. I mean, he was even insulting on social media with people were doing theories on Snoke. Some people saying maybe it is the Emperor. That's like what he looks like after he's all burnt. And Rian Johnson has the little post-it that says, your Snoke theory sucks. And he's just holding it up. And it's like, you're putting down your audience, man. I mean, why are you saying sucks?
I mean, isn't that the whole point of having a trilogy? Is to have the fans theorize, like, hey, maybe this is the Emperor. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a clone of the Emperor. Oh, wait a minute. This, is Rey a Skywalker? Oh, wait a minute. There's a character that was introduced in the comic books that Luke had got married to, and they had a child, which I forget what the kid's name was in the new Jedi Order book series, but it was basically her character and Ben Solo, or Anakin's. Wait, one of those two. I think it was Anakin Solo.
Well, and they did take some stuff from the books, right? Like was it Knights of Ren are from the books? I think I'm saying that right. Knights of
Ren. I don't know where they. Like I said, I didn't read the new canon, but from what I understand, the whole thing where, because everyone was skeptical, because the way they did the new trilogy, they did it in the series called the New Jedi Order, one of those book series, where it was Anakin Solo who went to the dark side, and it was Janice Skywalker was supposed to be the one that's supposed to save him, and then he turns back to the good side, and then she turns to the dark side, and it's basically a role reversal, and that's how I thought this was going to go. And to be quite honest, I think it would have been more interesting if Rey did turn to the dark side.
Well, yeah, I never expected her to. I mean, I guess they did try to do a lot of fan service, not just to the movies, but yeah, Knights of Ren, I think, are from a series. Carrie Russell's character, the one that gives them the coin, she's from a series. I don't know if it's comic books or books, but but she's from there. And that was another thing that kind of made me mad is I like her, the actress, and I thought she looked good. The costume was cool. So he's saying, Poe is saying, why don't you come with us? She has this coin that can get her off this planet. She gives them the coin and then says, no, I'm cool. I'm going to stay. And he's like, what? Why are you giving up a free ride?
I don't know, man.
I mean, she shows up at the end, but she's one of the ones that helps in the fight. But
the question is, how did she get off the planet if she didn't have the coin?
I don't know. Somehow she got off the planet. So
she somehow got off the planet.
But is there anything else you would like to anything else you'd like to say? We're at the 2-hour mark. So anything else you would like to add? And then I'll add in my 10 cents or 20 cents, 50 cents.
I'll just end it off with saying this. This is this time I watched it. Um, I didn't hate it as bad as when I first watched it, and allow me to explain. This time I kind of got over the anger that I had for these movies, and I just kind of just watched them as mindless popcorn movies. I think they're more enjoyable if you just don't think about the story, just enjoy the experience. That's just my opinion. Plus, I think what would really make these movies a whole lot better is if they would have just did a whole new story. If they would have just left out, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Carrie, Leia, and all that. If they would have just left all those out and just maybe had some cameos here and there, I think this would have been a whole better trilogy.
So upon rewatching, I still enjoy The Force Awakens, even with all of its issues. I still think it's an okay Star Wars film now that you can even compare it to the TV shows and stuff. Last Jedi, I watched it with an open mind because people do like it. Not as many as the people who dislike it. And I don't, excuse me. I don't get it. I don't understand it. As a film by itself, it's okay. But when you put it into the world of Star Wars, I don't really get it. Because I was really watching it like I was taking it scene by scene. Like the opening space battle I thought was pretty cool. And then, I thought I kind of find it funny that the movie is one long chase. I mean, they're just chasing each other. That's all it is. It's like it's just a big chase. So I think maybe I liked it a little bit more on its own, but comparing it to the other ones, no. But I think Rise of Skywalker is a mess, an absolute mess. So if I had to watch them, I would probably do Force Awakens. I'd just do them in that order: Force Awakens, Jedi, and then Skywalker. Because I think that I enjoyed Last Jedi more than Rise, only because it felt more like a complete movie, where Rise of Skywalker just felt like a jumbled mess.
And if they would make a director's cut of it, I think they would do so much better. Because from what I understand, there was almost 40 some minutes cut from the movie that they had to cut down because they didn't want to make it a 3-hour movie. Which, if they would have just made it a 3-hour movie, I think they would have done. They could have done more. You know what I mean? They could have. It feels like 3 hours, a 3-hour movie cut down into a 2 hour and 20-minute movie.
It's very choppy. Yeah, I've heard kind of the same thing, that there is a George Lucas cut of the movie that they did a few different cuts, and one of them is George Lucas, and that his version of the film is supposed to be much better. I can't confirm or deny that. It might just be an urban legend or something. I don't know. Kind of like.
I've also heard that George Lucas, they brought George Lucas in to fix the movies, and he was supposed to be directing Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, and supposedly they just cut his scene right out, that scene that he directed, and J.J. Abrams just did his own thing. So I think when it comes to the movies, visually, they're all beautiful. I mean,
they all look great. Yeah.
The scene where where Palpatine sucks their soul out, the life force out of them, and then he basically does force lightning up into the air, and you're seeing all the lightning going around, destroying all the things. That was beautifully done. That's probably my favorite part of the entire Rise of Skywalker movie. And then, Rey using both lightsabers.
I like that, but I don't believe. God, I don't want to get into this because we're going over 2 hours. There just seems to be that Kylo Ren is not as powerful as he thinks he is, because he even has a hard time fighting Finn when they're doing lightsabers. And then Snoke does point out that he was bested by a girl who's never used a lightsaber before. So there's that stuff. So at the end with Palpatine, when she takes them and holds them like an X, I'm not sure if I'm totally buying that, because then it seems like she's more powerful than Palpatine. That just two lightsabers would just reflect.
What they're saying is all of the Jedi are in her.
Yeah, there are the voices.
Well, I guess.
But maybe she's schizophrenic.
I guess what they're. I guess the whole explanation is that Palpatine, all the Sith are in him, and she's saying all the Jedi are in her. So all the Jedi from the Force, I guess, grant her the power to finish him off.
Okay, sure. I guess, sure.
Again, a very messed up story that's barely existing.
Yeah. I wish that these would just, everything about them would just be thrown into a vat of acid and they just start from scratch. So it's,
out of all three of these.
Yeah, they're like I've said, as a collection, as a collective, it's garbage. They're just all garbage. I mean, I would not recommend these after Return of the Jedi. I just wouldn't. Maybe this one. That's it. But then you got to go, oh, but I got to find out what happens. So now I got to watch the other two. So I don't know. All right.
I would watch these as a mindless popcorn trilogy. If you really want good storytelling, you got the prequel trilogy and the
which is 100 times better. It really is. Yeah.
This makes the prequel trilogy so much better.
Yeah, it really does. So, all right, man, we're gonna call it a night.
Call it a night, bud.
All right, so thank you, Donald. Thank you for another one, and so this ends the trilogies, and then our next video will be Rogue One and Solo, and then we have to figure out what happens after that. No idea. Yeah, we'll figure it out. So that will be up next month, and then this video will be on Friday. So, all right, everybody, I will talk with you soon. See you later in video land, and bye, everybody, bye. I'm not going to turn this off. Here we go. End.